You've got your license, you've done all your exams, you've qualified, and you want to work as a pharmacist in Canada. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to work as a pharmacist but have your own time to yourself, be able to dictate your schedule, know what it is like to plan your own time? Well, today we're going to be talking about my life as a relief pharmacist or travel pharmacist, depends on what you want to call it. And I'm going to be walking you guys through how I got into it and why I decided that I wanted to be a relief pharmacist. Let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Fumlola, mom of two, wife, a double board certified pharmacist, and I'm on a self journey. It is my hope that I will be able to inspire at least one person to get on a journey of their own as well. So today we're talking about why I decided to become a travel pharmacist or a relief pharmacist, as the case is. I'm going to share with you guys first of all how I made up my mind to do this. When I first got my license in Alberta, I had worked about a year as an intern during COVID, and I decided I wanted to see what was out there before I made up my mind and committed myself to one job or to one employer, as the case may be. I stayed on at the company where I got my license, where I did my internship as a part-time relief pharmacist, and then I was able to take other shifts. My contract allowed me to be able to take other shifts at another pharmacy. I started working at other places. It has really helped me a lot. One of the major things that I would say it has helped me do is be able to decide what I want to do with my time, decide when I want to work. For example, I don't work weekends, I don't work late shifts if I don't have to. And I also try not to work holidays or anniversaries. If you've ever thought about if being a travel pharmacist or a relief pharmacist is for you, watch this video. And at the end of the day, you can decide if it's the right fit and if it's something that you want to do. Let's go, guys. I didn't always work as a relief pharmacist um, or as a moving around pharmacist, I'd say. When I first got my internship, I stayed on at the company where I got my internship. I worked as a relief for them for a while, majorly doing only their own shifts. And then when I realized that, oh, my contract actually allows me to be able to move around and pick other shifts because they didn't always have shifts for me. Um, I'm going to tell you guys the pros first, and then we'll get into the cons. So, major advantage of being a relief pharmacist is flexibility, being able to pick my own shifts. So, I pick my shift, I decide when I want to work. Oh, I don't want to work late. Oh, today I want to go study. So, I'm going to pick a shift that's maybe going to close at 6, or pick a shift. Oh, I have a doctor's appointment. I'm going to work 2 to 6. So I decide my own shifts. There's that flexibility, having my own time, being able to decide my own schedule, having time with my kids. For example, I don't work weekends. And I found that that has actually been very helpful for me and for my kids. I don't work weekends, I don't work holidays, I don't work anniversaries. I stay on, I plan the way that I want to do it. And it has given me a lot of time, to be able to sit with my kids and decide what it is that we want to do. Another advantage, which I think would be also be a disadvantage for some people, is variety in work environment. As a relief pharmacist, I have found that I am better for it. I have worked in this is my fourth year now. I have worked in over 100 stores, and I have picked up skills from every store that I've worked in. I believe that there's nobody that cannot teach me something. So when I get into a new store, I learn things. I pick up talents from every professional, every pharmacist has a way that they do their own thing, and as long as it's not illegal, ethics can vary, right? So when I walk into a store and I see, oh, this is how they do it here, I check, is this ethical? If it makes my life easier, I adopt it. Oh, I like this. And so by the time I move around quite a lot, I seem to be an expert. Everybody's like, oh, how come you can use all of the softwares that I use across all the pharmacies? I mean, I move around a lot, and I ask for advice when I get somewhere. So variety in work environments is definitely a plus. Another advantage would be pay. So working as a relief pharmacist is a little bit tricky. I remember when I first started working as a relief pharmacist, I was earning lower than everybody else because I took like a fixed 1 day week shift somewhere because I wanted to learn that software. So when the guy offered me like a low wage and said, "Oh, I'm gonna pay you a percentage on your clinical services or whatever," I said, "Oh yeah, fine. I'll do that," because I really wanted to learn That wasn't the software that I trained with, but it was a software that a lot of pharmacies also use. And I really wanted to learn that software. So what did I do? I took a lower pay just to work there. And once I knew how to work that software, I knew, okay, yeah, everywhere I went to now, I can dictate how much I want to get paid. I'm like, okay, you have a shift you want covered. This is my hourly rate. If you can't pay it, that's fine. Sometimes I decide, okay, if the pharmacy is really busy, I won't go below this rate. Or if the pharmacy is not so busy, okay, I can take this rate from you. Or a distance from my house, for example, a pharmacy that's 30, 45 minutes from me, I wouldn't charge the same as a pharmacy that's like 5 minutes from my house that's not really busy. So flexibility in pay, and most of the time higher pay rate, is an advantage of being a relief slash travel pharmacist. Another advantage is less workplace politics. If you guys know what workplace politics does to me, I remember when I was in my job back home in Nigeria. Oh my God, you guys, workplace politics almost did me in. I didn't know how to. I just say my mind, and I get it done. And I don't think my superiors really like that. There was a lot of politics going on. People who we should have maybe gotten an award together, and they give that person and they leave you. All this kind of workplace stuff. But being a relief pharmacist means that you can leave all that behind. You go, you do your shift, make sure you do your shift properly so that they can want you back there, of course. And then you leave. You leave the job with the job, and then you get home and your mind is clear. That's definitely another advantage. And yeah, I would say that's a big one. Have I mentioned being able to learn new skills? I think I already did that. It also teaches me how to handle people, basically, like learning how to work with different people, different environment, different softwares, different patient demography, learning new diseases, medication, indications, how drugs are used. Because most of the time, when you work in one pharmacy, you're restricted to that demography, the kind of diseases they have there, the kind of drugs that they use. You're used to the doctors prescribing. So moving around has really been helpful for me as a pharmacist. It has helped me to see a lot of stuff. So sometimes I'm working in a place, it's like a diabetic clinic beside us. Another time I'm in a place, it's a cardiovascular clinic beside us. Another time I'm like, it's so beautiful, and it basically opens my mind up to different. Sometimes I go to a specialty pharmacy and I see drugs that I've never seen before. I'm like, oh my God, this exists. So yeah, that one is definitely an advantage. Now let's talk about some of the lows of being a relief pharmacist. I'd say the very first low, which I think is what a lot of people fear, is that uncertainty in income because of the scheduling. So when I first became a relief pharmacist, I found that I wasn't getting shifts. Of course, it's basically like advertising yourself, right? Nobody knows you yet. So what does that mean? It means that if you don't put yourself out there, if you don't show people what you can do, nobody's going to call you back for a shift at their store. So in the beginning, in the first year, it was really tough. I didn't used to get shifts. Pay was, I mean, it was all over the place, and I would sometimes not even I wouldn't make my hours for the month, but I continued to do that. I would go to a pharmacy, I would work. I mean, I'm good at my job. Don't mean to brag, but yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I would go into a pharmacy, I would do my job, I would help my patients because I'm going to help my patients anyway, right? And then after a while, I realized that people that I worked at the pharmacies, especially independent pharmacy guys, always wanted me back. Oh, come back because when you work, we don't have to bother about the next day, about fixing up messes from the relief pharmacist. And so after that, I am now in such a place where my schedule is usually booked like 1 month ahead. So if for example, this is February, for example, I'm all done till like March. No, this is March. I'm all done till like end of April or end of May sometimes. Many times I would leave 1 to some days apart because I still want to be able to work at the places where I have fixed employment. I still have some fixed employment in a few places. And so, yeah, I would say that that's one of the major disadvantages that people fear because people fear uncertainty. After you spend such a lot of money to get your license, you want to quickly make that money. So when somebody offers you a job that looks juicy, you take it, you get tied down in a place for like 2 years. Okay, they're going to pay you, they'll give you health benefits. Okay, that's another thing. Um, there's no health insurance being a travel pharmacist. I mean, you are your own health insurance. If you like, you can buy a plan. If you're lucky, your spouse also has a plan at their job, and that's helpful. A lot of people don't use their health insurance, but if you're somebody who buys drugs or uses your health insurance a lot, it would be nice to buy yourself a plan. Oh, yeah, that's one plan. Another major con of being a relief pharmacist is attitude from your assistant. Now, if you're a pharmacist who has worked in any other store apart from your usual store, you know that assistants are a blessing when they want to be, and they can be a bone in your neck when they want to be. Now, I have learned how to adapt. I mean, I pride myself in being a chameleon. That's what I call myself. I enter into an environment and I blend right in. I watch for what is going on. I make friends with the assistants, usually the oldest of the assistants there. I make friends with them. And sometimes if I enter into a store where I don't know, maybe the software or whatever, I immediately check out who the oldest assistant is or the tech there. And I tell her, oh, I'm not very familiar with this system. I'm going to need some help if that's okay with you. Many of them, when you say that to them, they're all like, oh, yeah, sure. Oh, whatever you need, I'll be okay to help. But like a lot of professionals that I know, when you enter into a store, you're going all high and mighty. And I mean, there's something called territory. Everybody has territorial wars. So when I enter into a new pharmacy that I've never been to before, I kind of check out what is going on, who's giving me attitude, who's not giving me attitude, and I act accordingly. So if the assistant is like all high and mighty and hotty totty, I would be polite, I would be civil. If I see that the assistant is someone who doesn't want to chat, I have my earpiece in my ear, I listen to music. I just have my phone in my bag or whatever, and I have YouTube Premium. So I just listen to music on a low volume. That kind of keeps me not feeling terrible that, oh, this person doesn't want to talk to me or something like that. So, yeah, that's one way of dealing with it. Another way of dealing with it is um if I go to a pharmacy where they okay, so usually if I go to a pharmacy once, they usually almost always want me back a second time. It's very rare that I go into a store and the assistants don't want me back, right? So if it's a store that I've been to before, it gets a little bit easier. The more frequently you go there, the easier that it gets. If it's a store that I've never been to before, check it out, watch it, talk to them, also, I try to make sure that a new store, I make myself useful. What does that mean? I see that okay, the job that my job as a pharmacist is all done. Maybe I don't have a lot of stuff. I help out the assistants. I help them to do their job. I know that for a lot of pharmacists who do relief, they go into a store and they just do the job that they came to do. They check the prescriptions. They don't want to do anything else. But I mean, that's not a way to endear people to you. And if you are going to be a contractor or a consultant, as the case may be, you actually do want the people that work there to want you back. That's the only way your schedule is going to be full. And make no mistakes, the assistants are the ones that hold the power in the store. The assistants are the ones that will tell their store owner or the store manager that this relief pharmacist is good, we want them back. Or this relief pharmacist, please don't bring them back here again. I have been working in a store before where the assistants were furiously typing a mail to the scheduler and saying, we don't want this pharmacist. They came in, they didn't do their job on time, they were slow, da, 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 da. And I can bet you that that pharmacist probably didn't do anything wrong. They just didn't like their attitude. That's half of the problem, right? So yeah, I think that's one challenge that a lot of people experience when they are travel pharmacists or when they are relief pharmacists. Another con for some people will be the different softwares that are used in most of the pharmacies. Like in Canada, for example, there's Kroll, there's HealthWatch, there's Crow Paperless or real-time integration, there's Nexus slash Propel. There's like different ones, right? And it's usually very daunting for people who are just starting out as relief. But like I always say, if this is something that you want to do, then you put your mind to it and then you learn it. You learn it frequently. Don't be afraid to ask questions. It is better for you to ask the assistants and technicians for questions, like questions on what you don't know, than to get there, behave as if you know everything, and then mess it up. That's a surefire way to, I mean, look like you don't know your job. And many times it's just that we're getting used to the new software. So yeah, that's I mean that's a con, but you can also make it a pro for you. And at the end of the day, you realize that, oh, you're good with all the software, you can use anything. You go into a place many times now. When I even go into a store, I'm the one who's teaching a lot of the assistants and the technicians shortcuts or hacks on many of those softwares. And again, it is because I've been in over 100 stores since I started doing relief. So pick up this hack from this person, pick up that hack from that person, and by the time I get to the front of the computer, it would look like, oh, this person is amazing. I'm going to share a short story. I remember one store where I went to work, and when I got in there, the assistant was all high and mighty and hotty totty. Their first belief is that really pharmacists don't know what they're doing. So when I get into the store, I already saw how she was behaving and all. I put on the computer. I think she was trying to see what I could do. I put on the computer. It was a new whatever. I set myself up, did everything, and then got right in and started doing everything. So when she was like, "Oh, do you need me to blah blah blah?" I'm like, "No, don't worry, it's done." Do you need me to blah blah blah? I'm like, "No, don't worry, it's done." She's like, "Oh my god, you're amazing! You did everything, and you didn't even need to ask me." Da, da, da. And guess what? That assistant and I are besties now. So yeah, I mean, it could be a con, but you could definitely make it a pro for yourself. Another con that a lot of people will talk about is travel and commuting. Many people don't like the uncertainty that comes with not knowing where you're going. Oh, some people like, when I leave my house, I want to know that this is where I'm going and I'm not going anywhere else. Okay, I guess that's fine. But like I say, some of us thrive in chaos and we are good with it. So going around, I like it. I like driving. It kind of clears my head, helps me to be able to think. So that can be a con for some people. If you don't like driving or if you don't like using your Google map, because sometimes you really don't know where you're going. I mean, it's happened before where a pharmacy had a funny address. Google took me to another place, and then the pharmacist was like, "Oh no, this is not where our pharmacy is." And then I now had to, but luckily for me, they were like maybe 10 minutes away from each other, and so that was fine. So that can definitely be a con if you don't like commuting or you don't like driving long distances, because some of those shifts can be very long. I think the farthest I've ever driven to work was in Slave Lake. Guys, Slave Lake is like 3 hours from me, and it was cold. It was cold. I was gone for a couple of days. My car was I mean, that's definitely how it's going to be a story for another way when I'm going to make a video on my travels as a really pharmacist. But for now, yeah, I think that those are all the pros and the cons. So at the end of the day, being a really pharmacist is not actually for everyone. If you're someone who likes a straight schedule, being able to wake up in the morning, know where you're going, you don't want any surprises, you don't like surprises, you like to know the patients you're dealing with, really pharmacy might not be for you. But if you're someone who is okay, wants to enjoy new things, you get bored easily, you want to have a flexible schedule, and you really don't mind moving around, learning new things all the time, I think that you do amazing as a relief pharmacist, and you should definitely consider it. So what do you guys think? Do you think that relief pharmacy is for you? If you have any questions about how I get shifts or how I'm able to get paid or how I do my payments, invoicing, and all those things, you can send me an email at adundiaries@yahoo.com, or you can send me a DM, or you can leave it in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.